Hello, I'm Corey Fitzsimons.
I'm Ethan Essie.
I'm Jonathan Mahanatis.
And I'm Fauzi Saba.
And this is the panel discussion.
So, what is globalization and what is its origin?
Globalization is a term used to describe the way cultural, political, technological and economic factors of nations around the world rapidly expand outside their own nation to a global level. Also, with recent technological advancements, people and companies are able to communicate with others from across the globe. Throughout this, the world has become more connected. This allows people to keep in contact with friends and family through social media platforms. Also, with the new transport technology improvements, people can now visit others from across the globe. Globalization also involves free trade agreements such as those with Australia, the US, Singapore, and Thailand.
In the times of the late 20th century, globalization dramatically expanded to form what it is today. Some say that it derives from cultures becoming more integrated. However, some say it has existed since time began. Globalization has existed for over several hundred of years. It has existed since European countries decided to colonize other continents like Australia, Africa, and the Americas. Nearing the end of the 19th century, the world united further. When the Gregorian calendar was established, the international dateline was also established. The economic depression slowed down the globalization process. Many countries had made anti-free trade measures in order to repair their economy.
How has globalization affected our global relationships between rich developed countries and poor developing countries in terms of poverty and wealth, access to education, food, health, shelter and water, uses of natural resources, and the quality of life?
It is a well-known fact that rich developed countries often manufacture goods and products in poor developing countries. This is so as people can be exploited and pay cheap prices, although these products are sold for much more expensive prices.
Poverty and wealth. Sweatshop disadvantages the poor. In terms of poverty and wealth, globalization has a dramatic effect. An example of this is in the production of Apple iPhone. The accelerometer and phone batteries are manufactured in China. Audio chips are made in Singapore. Phone cameras are constructed in India. The Wi-Fi chips are constructed in Mexico. Just to name a few. A resemblance between all the countries in which these items are constructed is that they are countries of either high populations, of communism, or of a low economic status. Hence this means the Western countries such as United States of America design Apple products can request countries like China to manufacture the certain parts of the iPhone for cheap prices. In order for China to get the work done in a quick time frame and for a cheap price, they use sweatshop workers who are forced to labor for long hours and only get a small amount of pay. This results in the rich developed countries gaining money while exploiting developing poor countries.
Many sweatshop workers are exposed to harsh conditions in sweatshops and are sometimes even deprived of food and water during their long working hours. Sometimes up to 16 hours. The health of workers is also dramatically affected in sweatshops. An example of this was in the manufacturing of the Apple Watch in China, where workers were exposed to ethoxy, propanol and N-heptane. Sweatshop workers are usually only paid the bare minimum and can only afford the amount of food for their family to keep them alive. Hence, they usually live in run-down shelters and one-room houses.
Use of natural resources. Many developed countries buy natural resources of poor developing countries. They buy the natural resources for cheap prices and use them and sell them for expensive prices, hence exploiting the poor countries.
What solutions, strategies can be implemented to minimize the gap between the rich developed countries and poor developing countries around the world?
Well, a major and significant strategy that can be implemented to minimize the gap between rich developed countries and poor developing countries is to boost the education system in the developing countries. This will empower these children and cause them to possibly move to other countries and to go to work for decent wages instead of slaving in workshops. Countries like the US should stop putting so much money into warfare and put more money into the education systems in the third world countries. Globalisation should also become more controlled.
I'm Jonathan Mahamatis.
I'm Corey Fitzsimons.
I'm Fauzi Salba.
And I'm Ethan Messi.
We'll see you next time on Panel Discussion.